Most important thing in business is honesty, integrity, hard work, family. Never forgetting where we came from.
You heard it, Mr. Frank White said it. The most important thing in business is hard work. The beginning of that, the reason I love to start the show with that clip from The American Gangster with Denzel, talking about the true story of one of the most notorious, is just in the message what you're getting there. The most important thing in business is hard work. Family, integrity, never forgetting where you came from. So when you're watching Rolling with the D, which you're tuned in now, in this little segment after the segment after the intro, 2015, January 2nd, why is that important to remember that? Because the level playing field, and we talked about that on New Year's Eve, the level playing field, the great equalizer we talked about was time. The other part that I want to add to that, though, is I want to build on that this year. So you've got time. You're equal. We're all equal on time. We talk about that a lot. The next part of it is going to be the work ethic. The next part of it, I think, most important aspect that you can have is going to be your work ethic. The kind of work ethic that you show up with. The kind of work ethic that you put forward every single day. That's going to really, really set the tone, set the stage for you as an entrepreneur, for you as a person that wants to get more. So what kind of work ethic are you gonna come with every single day, wherever you're showing up? If you're showing up at a salon, if you're showing up at an office space, if you're showing up at wherever you're showing up to a cubicle, you're showing up to wherever you're showing up. Wherever your niche in the marketplace is, wherever you're going to create value, are you showing up with the work ethic? The work ethic. There's phases, and being a younger person, coming off of the cusp of the millennials, and then who was before millennials, is it Gen Y, whatever it is, whatever generation I'm part of. But being a part of this, this generation, what I'm getting to see as a business owner, as an entrepreneur building something, and getting the opportunity to hire people, is there really this entitlement stigma that everyone talks about? I talk to a lot of owners, and I find myself in a lot of circles with a lot of older businessmen and women, older business owners. I'm always kind of like trying to learn from them, like what's going on. And I hear them talk a lot about that. I hear them talk a lot about this entitlement, phase that kind of happened to America and happened to the workforce. And then as they're starting to deal with new people in their businesses, they're finding that they're not wanting to show up to work. They're not wanting to put in the effort. They're wanting to just get things handed to them. And I'm thinking, well, I think that could be true in some cases, but I still think that you as the business owner, you have to find those people because they still exist. I mean, I've got people in my organization everywhere from 20 years old all the way to into their 30s like me, and everything in between. And what I'm finding is there are some people, as we go through the interview process and we see different segments come in. There are some people like that, and then there are some people who want to hustle, who want to grind. So you've got to still do the due diligence on those people. You still got to do the interview process. You still got to approach it, from an owner's perspective, but approach it from a due diligence. Is this somebody that you're going to want to go into battle with? And that's how I look at it. I don't know, maybe because I was in the military, but I've got to look at people that, for different asset classes. If you're like me, if you're a salon owner, you're hiring people, you could get hung up on the fact that, they can cut hair really, really good. So you automatically put them somewhere they shouldn't be. Because they can cut hair really, really good, is this going to be a hardworking individual? Is this going to be an honest individual? Is this going to be an intelligent individual? Is this going to be somebody that you think, when their back's against the wall, is going to make the right decision on behalf of you and the company and the mission, and see the vision of where you guys are going? So you have to be able to answer yes to those questions, not just, can they do this? No, I mean, granted, if you're owning a doctor's office and you're hiring surgeons, and they got the shaky hands, I mean, you might want to, check that out. Is that something that can be tweaked? Is that something that could be fixed? Or else you can end up with a lawsuit. But you also have to think about those other elements, and those are things that I give a lot of weight and credit to, because I personally feel as an educator I can work with the shaky-handed individual, and I can calm those hands down enough to get those hands moving like they need to. But if I've got other issues on the list, like there's not a work ethic, they're not a hardworking, honest, intelligent individual, they don't see the vision, if their back was against the wall, there might be an integrity issue, those are the people you got to be very careful about, because they'll get inside your organization and it could really, really, mess it up from the inside out. So you got to be careful. You got to be careful as you're going through the process. But again, it's up to you. It's up to you. So if you end up with duds, it's because you hired them. You can't be like thinking, oh, well, I ended up with duds. Like I'm a stud and everybody else is a dud. Well, then you actually are a dud in disguise. I'm sorry to tell you, but you are a dud in disguise. And so there's that part to work ethic, and there's that word that you always hear all the time. The word I'm talking about, you know what it is. Excuse me, got a little itch in my throat. The word is hustle. People throw that word around like a football, like, oh yeah, every damn hustling, every damn hustling. Everybody thinks they're a hustler. They hear the word hustle, hustle hashtag everything, but really they're not really hustling. And one of my mentors, one of the guys that I look to in the business world and admire and look at as a coach and a model for somebody that's a real hustler, Gary V. I don't know if you guys know him, but you need to check out Gary Vaynerchuk. Gary V. He's got a show on YouTube, all over social media, building a media brands, built several companies to significant, multi-million dollar businesses. And the guy he tears it up. I mean, he's out there and he's actually doing it. He's walking the walk and he's walking the talk. So he did a little video I saw recently about that word, the word hustle, and about how, people they use that word. It's kind of like, almost like the word entrepreneur. I mean, I've been thinking a lot about that, like everyone's like, I'm an entrepreneur, I'm an entrepreneur. Really? What is an entrepreneur? What is that? Let's talk about that. You think you're an entrepreneur, but sadly mistaken, my friend. You're not even close, because you're still looking for a time clock. You're still looking for an exit. You're still keeping your eye on the exit door. You're still waking up late and going to sleep early. You're still thinking that you get weekends off and you think Sundays are fun days. I'm sorry, my friend, but that's not entrepreneur. An entrepreneur, I always like to joke around with my team, especially with the managers as people are moving up, because I build this entrepreneurial culture for people to take ownership and look at building something like they're actually building it for themselves too, because they are. And if something happens to me, I want a company that's solid, that's going to be able to continue rolling. So I talk to my leaders about that, and I say, oh, you as a leader, or you as you're moving up in the company, or you become a business owner, you get the privilege of working half days. And I always joke around, I was like, half days, what does that mean? Well, think about it. I was like, there's 24 hours in a day, so you get to work at least 12. You pick the first half or the second half. That's the beauty of it. So then, half days. So no more 9 to 5. Yeah, no more 9 to 5, because that's only 8 hours. Entrepreneurs work half days. We work at least 12, 15, sometimes 17 hours a day. I mean, today, for example, January 2nd, it's actually, when we're recording this right now, it's January 3rd. It's 2:21 a.m. January 3rd. If you're on the West Coast, it's 1:12. What's that? 11:21 p.m. on the West Coast. 2:21 a.m. on the East Coast. What in the world am I doing in front of the camera, or on the microphone, doing a podcast, recording a live show, streaming at 2:22 in the morning? What's that? What's that all about? That's called the privilege. That's the privilege of being an entrepreneur. That's a privilege of being a business owner. That's a privilege of making commitments, of having a all-in attitude, and that's what the hustle's about. That's what the hustle's about. Now, did I have to do this? No, but I did have to do it because I committed to it. So no one's, I don't got a live studio audience. I don't got, hundreds of people out here watching. I'm in here, we got the producing. starring in, directing, editing, the whole deal right here. You rolling with the D. So as you're listening to this on the podcast, I want you to be thinking about the work ethic this year. I want you to be thinking about the hustle this year. And I want you to start back in the hustle up with the muscle, not the talk. I don't want to see hashtag this and that and the other thing. I'd actually encourage you to not hashtag the entrepreneur, not hashtag hustle. If you want me to notice, and I'll be honest with you, you get straight talk. If you want to know, hey, am I hustling? Do you think I'm hustling? Hashtag RWTD. You can hashtag this. There you go. Hashtag RWTD for rolling with a D, and I'll give you a fair look. I'll look at what you're doing. And I can see through the BS post on the social media. So I know if all of a sudden I look on your social media and you hashtag this, hashtag that, and you get pictures, I can see through all that because I could tell if you're grinding. So it's going to be about this year, less talk, more work, back up the hustle with the muscle. If you're an entrepreneur, then build something. Make something change, make something happen. That's what entrepreneurs do. Entrepreneurs, where there is no way, they make a way. Where there is, you have to be a problem solver. You have to become a problem solver. You have to be a solution-oriented individual. You have to already be seeing your first 1, 2, 3 months of 2015. Not waiting for things to happen, but making things happen. That's what the hustle is about for real. And that's what it's about. That's what the DNA looks like for real. And we did a show on the entrepreneurial DNA because it's okay. It's not for everybody. It's not for everybody. So I want you guys to be thinking about that this year. I want you to be thinking about where you want to take yourself. Where do you want to take your team? Where do you want to take your brand? Because you have a brand. It's you incorporated. You have to think about that. So no matter, like I said earlier, if you're working for the man, if you are the man, if you're working for the woman, you have a brand. You have to think about your brand and where do you want to take